Low-key, our office is better. High-key, actually.
Alright, Will, I called you last night, man. My phone was dead from like 5.
Oh, what's up, dog? Low-key, we have like 5 people outside, and we're still selling.
Good for you.
Where you at right now? So just think bad for knockoff, like,
Alright, Jonathan, can you do me a favor and press pause? Alright, let's roll, children. Hey, Will, you can't walk in here late, and then William, you can't walk in late and be grabbing food and making conversation. Grab food, let's go. Can someone put on the group, Philippe? Where's Philippe? Where the heck did he just go? Oh, hi.
Hi, Cathy.
Can you put that we're live streaming to the GCK? All right, well, guys, good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? It's going to be a very great Saturday morning. I'm very excited. Yesterday, as an office, as a division, we definitely got one of our shit days out, but excited about where we're at and where we're going. I wanted to get us all together this morning, and I know we have people from throughout the division that are live streaming and then getting you guys here. I know there's other people that are going to be coming in and getting here late to run a workshop. I was talking to some of the guys yesterday, and I wanted to kind of just kick off by kind of getting everyone refocused. I've been through this 13 times, you know. I've been through it personally as a sales rep, my first summer in 2002, and I've coached a lot of people through this process. And SC2, you know, push, it's hard. It's hard. And by the way, one of the things I feel like it exponentiates everything is just you're physically drained, you know, you're mentally drained, you're and then emotionally drained, which this week, you know, crap's going to go down in all of our offices. And as you allow yourself to open up more and be more vulnerable, it just, you know, things, you just get a lot more emotional, and everything really is magnified. All right, whatever feelings you're having are usually magnified. And I want to remind you guys that at this point, a lot of people, and I've talked to a couple people yesterday, but at this point, people are usually thinking so much about the number. You know, and they're like, oh my God, I got to hit blank. Oh my God, I got to sell blank. And they're thinking so much about the number that they don't really enjoy and really soak in the process and soak in the journey. And guys, it's all like with one sale, things can change. You know, Culver was like, oh, crappy day, like nothing happening. And then like 11 o'clock at night drops like $2,500, you know? So it's pretty cool. Daniel Lee was not having a great push for Daniel Lee. You know, it was only at $1,000 in the first 4 days, and then late last night drops a signature with I don't know what and whatever. Like with one sale, things can change with one day, and not forgetting that in one day, people are going to have $10,000, $15,000 plus days. And I've seen it over and over and over for over a decade. And I want to remind you guys, as I talked to you yesterday, like, you know, freaking out. And it's easy to freak out and be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to hit? And I'm like, dude, you can hit it in a day. We have 2 weeks left, you know, we have 14 days. Like, don't forget that, you know, like there's a lot of push left. Like starting Monday, or excuse me, we have like 12 selling days. Starting Monday, we'll have 11 days, you know, 10 full days, and then the morning of the conference, which you can do 2 demos, and it's callback time and going through there. And there's plenty of time and through that process. And I think about, you know, today, to me, like I'd be looking at it as bonus. You know, we're going to talk about it tomorrow. Like today's a bonus day. How big can you take your bonus day? Tomorrow's an all-day call day, and all we're doing is loading up for Monday and Tuesday, because Monday starts our fast start. And Monday we have 10 full selling days, and then we have an extra half day. And you think about what people do in their fast start. Who's ever thought, man, I wish I could go back and redo my fast start? Has anyone thought that before, you know? And for you guys, like now you have more skill, right, than you had before. You're as skilled as ever. You have great relationships, great people to talk to. When you started off, all you have, you're just like, this weird knife job. Now you have support system from 19 offices. You have Cutco sales professionals. You have all these people to help make things happen, and it's really up to you to take advantage of that. But you guys have a chance to redo your fast start, and right now the fast start record is set to shy of $37,000 in a 10-day period. But there's going to be people that in those 10 days across the nation will be selling more than that, by the way, because they're not brand new, because they're veterans, because they know how to close bigger, because they know the deposit. And I share this because most of you, and there's a couple of newbies in the room joining us this morning, but most of the room, like, you know what to do. Got it? You have the knowledge. You know how to close. You know how to do these things. But you get disconnected from everything because, again, you get so focused on the result, and then you're just not fully present. And I've seen that happen to me as a manager. I saw it happen as a rep. I saw it happen as a manager. I've seen it happen to my top reps and top managers, that you start going through the process and you're so good at it, you can almost have an out-of-body experience. Any veteran recruiters and anyone that ever ran interviews ever, like, you ran an interview and the whole time you're thinking about, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, whatever. And like, you can run an entire interview and you weren't even, like, you're just, right? I'm talking about, you're like, oh man, I wonder what Jose's doing, I wonder what Dawson's doing right now. You're like running training, but your head's somewhere else. And I could run training on autopilot, but the fact is, you're not fully present. And as much as you can think you are and everything, like, there is a disconnect there, okay? And it happens as a sales rep, because what happens now, at this point, you're not having the results you want, and you start going, oh my gosh, I hope this goes good. Oh, are they connecting with me? Are they getting it? I wonder if they're gonna, I hope they buy. Oh, I hope I get recommendations. And you're having by the way, you're having a great conversation with the wrong person. Ms. Jones is in front of you, and you're talking to yourself the whole freaking time, and you're not fully present with her. So it's really important, as you walk into every demo, that we're stepping back and saying, okay, like, let me set what's your intentions, okay? I'm not worried. I know I can get this thing done, but it's all part of the journey. It's walking in and saying, all right, I've got, my objective is to go in there and just be the highlight of her day. That's it. You want to have a great push? Walk in and have some fun. And do it like 60 times, all right? That's it, all right? That's what you want to do. It's like, do more demos and have more fun. If you guys are doing that, you're going to see some great things happen. And I want to make sure you guys stay focused on that. Stop thinking about, oh my God, I got to do this. Rachel, and she leaves tomorrow. She's heading out of town. By the way, she's a small sale. She didn't hit it last night. I didn't get her final update last night, but she was at about $9,600 last night. In her 4 days, all right? Rachel Leonard's Chavez's girlfriend. And by the way, nothing big, no big closing. Her average order, $323. But she has like 24 orders. So she's just working it, man. She's had like 7 demos a day, every day. And she's just been cranking her demos. Hasn't done anything huge. Hasn't had any huge. She's got, I think, like 2 big orders. All right, and you've seen me like post up Rachel Leonard's like once or twice, but the rest of it, just little, and it all adds up. So, are you so focused on the big orders that you're forgetting that all the little ones add up? Because our first person to 10K did it all off little orders, So don't forget that. Just make sure that the big orders, and the reason I tell you is the big orders, so you have that skill, you have it, you show it, it sets the framing, but your job is to find whatever is best for them that day, all right? Dawson was doing part of his demo on Wednesday, and I watched him go through this, and he shared his goals, all right? And after sharing his goals, I sat there and I just went, I don't feel that connected, like, that's cool, that's nice what you said, like, those are great goals, but there was something missing. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys, there's a book which I highly recommend. It's called 7 Levels of Intimacy, and that's something that I wanted to talk with you guys about today. And this is such a huge thing for your lives, by the way, and it'll obviously impact you here. It's not just, this is not a Cutco skill, this is a life skill, all right? And I went through coaching, and back in SLC years ago, actually the company Vector brought Matthew Kelly in, and he spoke at our event and he spoke at RDC. And this was back in 06 or 07. But he went through and he had a book, and it's called 7 Levels of Intimacy. And he talked about relationships and dynamics. And I remember watching this message that he gave, and I was just blown away, because it's stuff I just never, it's so simple, and it's just things I never thought about. And it's so crazy that people go their whole freaking lives without like ever getting into deeper levels. All right. And you guys can, if you're, taking notes, so there's 7 levels of intimacy. Number 1 is cliches, right? And people, they communicate in cliches. So like, how's the weather? How was your week? What are you up to this weekend? Just those like general, like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. And it's just very surfacey, all right? But by the way, think about in your life right now. I'm sure you can find relationships that's just how you guys communicate all the time. And they're like one of your good friends, or close people or family, whatever it is. And they just communicate in cliches all the time. All right, the second level of intimacy is facts, all right? And that's where you're actually saying, like you're giving facts. And so Dawson, I told him, I said, you're communicating in facts, and then, you shared some of your goals or whatever, which is cool. So it got a little bit deeper, but whatever that is. So you have your facts, and you're sharing like, and in regular relationships, day-to-day life, that would be like, oh, did you see, some hot tea, please. Or hot water. Did you see that blanky blank happen? Or did you see that blank won this game? Or, it's like sports, things from the news, like whatever. You're just sharing facts. In your demos, it's just sharing facts about you. And guys, here, there's I guess, that's the next level of intimacy. So you're a little bit closer because you're not just talking cliches, you're sharing facts. The third one is opinions. So now that gets a little bit, it's a little bit touchy for a lot of people, because now when you get an opinions, how about if they don't have the same opinion you do, right? So that becomes, and then I think about when you're getting to know someone and you start sharing that, it's like, ooh, like that's a little bit more touchy. If they don't agree with you, that can cause a disconnect, right? And I don't care who you are, where you're from, human beings, all right, by whatever you believe in, and I believe God created us in the image of Him for connection. And human beings, like, we're wired for connection. As much as you like want to, oh, I'm fine alone. No, you're not. When you say that, by the way, that's a cop out. When you say that, when human beings say like, I'm better by myself, you know what happened? They got hurt at some point. And so it's safer to be alone. Does that register with anybody? All right. So they push people away because it's safer to not let anybody in. It's safer, then they don't have to deal with like the hurt or whatever. So they just keep people further away. All right. Now the fourth level of intimacy now is hopes and dreams, and that's something that in Vector you guys learn to do pretty early on. All right. You start. And when we're going through our goals, right, it's like, oh, can I share with you some of my goals, right? And you have like dream job and it's in your manual, bless you. By the way, that's not normal for people to talk about stuff like that, right? Do you meet someone for the first time and you're like, tell me about your hopes and dreams, right? You're like, whoa, like, who are you? Hi. So it's a very normal thing to be like, it's not a normal thing to talk to people about stuff like that. So when you start talking about hopes and dreams, it's a little bit, you have a deeper connection with them. And that's something that those of you who have heard, and I know like Damien had spoken last month, and those who were here on SC1, he talked about like enrolling customers. And some of the best sales reps in our company, Hal Elrod, John Berghoff, who held the record for over a decade for SC2 Push at 18 years old. In 2 weeks, at 18 years old, he sold over $69,000 in sales. $69,000. 18 years old, set the record, broke the record, set the record, held it for over a decade. Okay, and this was really, this was something that he talked about. He's like, he really connected with his people and really tied them in by sharing, hey, here are my dreams. But he went a little bit further. He went into step 5 and step 6. All right, which for most people are kind of no-nos. Number 5 are feelings. All right. And so these are emotional reactions that you have to things. and being vulnerable enough to tell how you really feel. In most people's rule book, that's just not something you do. And even think about marriages and relationships. It's so sad, but I've seen marriages where it's just like you wake up first, you go to work, you come back, you do whatever, and you go through these motions and you never get into those levels. Or one partner wants to talk about stuff and they're like, oh, you know, like they want to talk about how they're feeling, and I just don't want to deal with that right now, you know, and they get shut down. And so there's a connection that's missing. And unfortunately, people go somewhere else to fill that need, right? And things happen, and that's not a good thing either. And so making sure that, you know, for you guys, and we're going to go through, you know, these next 2 weeks, or, you know, whatever, week and a half, we have almost 2 weeks for the push. It ends 2 weeks from yesterday is when we end this, you know, being okay to be open with that process. I think about with Miss Jones, you know, when you're like, I'm so scared, like, you know, like this has been a crazy journey. Like I have such a huge goal and like it scares me so much, but I'm so excited about it, you know? And when you're sharing feelings like that, that gets them excited, and they're more connected, and they're excited to be a part of that journey. All right. And guys, I think about for you guys, we go a little bit deeper. And this is something that when you see the top sales reps, when they say, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, or like people don't like to share that. And that's number 6. It's not just feelings, how you feel, whatever emotion, but it's the bad side of the feelings, right? And you guys can put faults, fears, and failures. So that's number 6. And this is somewhere that we're going to stay out here for a little bit. Number 7, you can just write it down as legitimate needs, you know, like what you actually need. And sometimes people won't say that because they don't want to feel like, you know, like they're needy. They want to feel like they have everything under control, or, you know, whatever it is. But number 6 is one of the scary, like number 6 is something that most human beings, and especially overachievers, never want to get to. All right. And number 6, thank you.
Wait, don't drink.
Faults, fears, failures. It's like, it's so nice to meet you. Can I share my failures with you? Right? Or you're getting to know someone and you're like, oh, tell me about it. You're like, dude, I'm like, I struggle with this, I struggle with that. And like, normally people that you hear like that right off the bat, you're like, like, you know, because that's just, it's a turn off for most overachievers to talk about that. It's like, you don't want anyone to know your fears, your failures. All right. And guys, this is something that, you know, I want to share with you guys and really have you guys thinking about. It's something that holds you back. It's something that holds you back from friendships. It's something that holds you back from relationships. It's something that will hold you back in your life and not be able to live the life that you want and have the joy and connection that you want. And there's a video, it's like a 25-minute video on vulnerability. And Brene Brown, she speaks on a TED Talk, but she's got a couple different books, and I 2 of her books. And it really registers and hit home when I read through there, because it's like, you don't want to be vulnerable, you know, you don't want to put yourself in that state. And she just talks about, you know, doing research on vulnerability and you know, her having to open up, and just how scary that is. Like, you can fix everybody else up, but like, I don't want to open up. Like, I don't want to make myself vulnerable. But without opening up and being able to fully have that connection with someone, you're not able to experience, like, yeah, you keep yourself from like feeling the bad, right? And having to experience the bad, but you also keep yourself from experiencing all the greatness that can be there too. Because you can't be selective about, oh, okay, like I'm gonna feel, you know, like I'm gonna connect on this level here, but not here. It's like you're only open to a certain point, and you're only gonna achieve that level of connectedness as open as you are willing to be open. That's as close as connected as you're going to be to somebody. It's not like, oh, but in this case, I'll be here, you know? So if you don't allow yourself to open up, you won't experience that amazing connection because you're scared of the bad stuff. And it's like, it all comes together. It's part of life. It's part of relationships. But guys, I share this with you because I've been to a lot of, you know, I've been to a lot of different seminars, personally, and I meet people, by the way, in their 50s, in their 60s, in their 70s. Successful people, authors, multimillionaires, you know, big business people, crying like a little girl, all right? Speaking in front of thousands of people saying like, I've just never felt love. I've never felt connected. I've never felt these certain things. And and they lack that. And one of the biggest things is this right here. They never wanted to show their weaknesses. They never wanted to show their failures. And so they never were able to connect with somebody in that way. And I personally, I went through, I'm watching all these people. I remember going to my first seminar in 2006 and watching people, and I was just like, oh, I'm like, that sucks, that kind of sucks for them. And I never even saw what was happening in my life through the years of being scared to connect with people because of, whatever it was, and not realizing like just the things that had shaped and molded me through my life. And this is something I coach a lot of our guys on, and you guys can jot down. This is it's called strong suits, right? We all have our strengths, and that's what we like to put our game face on. Like, these are my strengths, these are whatever, and we talk about this, and it's something for you guys to think about, because we're gonna expand more on this. But we all have strengths, and their strengths, our strong suits, are strengths that in excess also become our biggest weaknesses. And all of these things came from something that we dealt with something a certain way. So maybe you were picked on when you were young, and you saw other people, and you felt bad. And so you became this like really kind, loving, generous person, and you always gave back to other people, and you always do. And so one of your strengths is your kindness or your compassion, your ability to serve. But in excess, maybe sometimes you get stepped on, right? Or you don't take, like, you people can manipulate. Some people, they went through things and they had to get attention because, they were from a big family, or, I don't know, whatever it is. And so they chose humor. Some people chose drama. Some people chose whatever it is to create situations around them to get attention, because and by the way, they might be someone who's great with people and connect with people, and they're so funny, people feel great around them, but inside they're just empty and they're just searching for that connection, and so it's a strength, but it's a weakness because they're not real, and they're not able to really share where they're at, and they're not able to connect with people. For me, my work ethic is definitely a strength, and it was developed through challenges, things that I went through when I was younger, and I was like, all right, I've got to work harder than everybody else, but there's things that came from it that helped, that I was very disconnected. And so to give you, and you guys kind of, I guess, an assignment for your story at home is like, think about like, what are all your strengths? If you had to think about like, and by the way, be kind to yourself. I hate when people are like, oh yeah, I don't know, like, I don't really know my strengths. No, find your damn strengths. You're all here. You're strong people. All right. Whether people have told you bullshit that you're not, and you believe it, you are, because you wouldn't be in this room if you weren't. And think about, write down, what are all the strengths that you have? Your ability to connect with people, your ability to lead others, I don't know, some of you guys are brilliant, like God's blessed you with intelligence that has really been able to give a lot, but it's also kept you from things. And just thinking about like, what are all the strengths that you have, but then what is it kept you from? And for as I went through this process and I was writing down like, what are different strengths, but then the strengths was like, okay, and then what's the negative side of those strengths, the in excess or whatever, like what is the downside of it? And then the second thing is, where did they form from? Because it's not, and for me, and I'll share mine, as I went through this process of coaching, mine were leadership. That's something that I developed, but it's not like I was born and I was 2-3 years old running around like, I'm a great leader. I was just like running around playing, throwing stuff, being rest. I was always dancing around. That has been there since I was born. But in terms of leadership, just so you guys know, leadership came from my sister being in kindergarten, me being in 2nd grade. She walked over to our side, the big kid side, right, on 2nd grade playground, and she came over and has her hair like all everywhere. She's this little annoying, pre-K. She walks over with her kindergarten friend. She's like, Cathy, let's play. And I looked at her and I'm like, go away, you cockroach, or like, you stupid cockroach, or something I said to her in 2nd grade, which was one of the most traumatic experiences in my sister's life. That, like, in our late 20s, we were talking about it. She's like, dude, you fucked me up. You know, like, she's like, my whole life I dealt with like self-confidence issues because you called me a cockroach when I was in kindergarten. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know, like, what did you think I was really thinking about that when I was in second grade? But there's like comments we've all heard, things we've been through, experiences we've had, and they just screw with us always, you know. But I remember calling, I'm like, go away, stupid cockroach. And she just started crying and ran away. And everyone's like, haha, you know, like the cool kid in second grade, you know, just put their little sibling down. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I get home, I got the shit beat out of me, okay? My father was like, so what happened today? I'm like, oh no. And my dad's like, well, you know, and us Puerto Ricans believe in spankings, all right? So if you don't come from a spanking home, this home is a spanking home. And you got to choose. You want hand, you want belt, you get to choose though. And I was like, all right, there's an option, all right? And I was like, and I remember my dad would always, every time, I went through this a lot, but every time my dad would go to spank me, he'd always like, do you know why this is happening? Do you know what you did wrong? You know, and he's like, we love you, you know, we care about you, but like, this is not okay. And I get my spanking and I'm like crying. He's like, you know, we expect you to be better. And I remember this certain day, he was just like, you know, Kathleen, and it's like, you are the oldest of four. He said, you are the oldest of four. You need to be an example. You need to be a great leader for your siblings. You need to set the right path for them. And I was just like, okay, all right, you know. And I remember going through this process like later because I was trying to figure out, I'm like, I've always had a really good work ethic, but when I thought about, okay, what rooted first, it really came from me just wanting to be a good example for my siblings so they like screwed up, you know. And that wasn't to stop there. I definitely screwed up some more, but I really worked hard. And so I remember like all through sixth grade, all through middle school, high school, you know, being straight A's and all this stuff. And then sophomore year, freshman year, I got into some trouble, and I always liked to, I was a work hard, play hard my whole life. I was pretty good at it. So I always did my stuff, but I always liked to party and have fun, and it definitely got me into trouble. And so I was around the wrong people. You know, when I was in freshman year, I was dating a senior, and I like would sneak out of my house through the window. Like our windows, you could open it, and it was like this, and I would literally like crawl out of my window, and they would like take me out, and I'd run. My sister would always cover for me, or she'd come sleep in my room, and we'd lock the door. We're like, we're having a sleepover, and I'd like leave. And I did a lot of things. But I got into some trouble and got into some trouble in school, and then my sophomore year, I got expelled. And everything I had been working for, and I felt so, and by the way, this is something where my mom just like completely like shunned me. I don't want to, like, I can't believe this, you know. And my mom, and I shared the other day, those who were here, like the only time I ever felt any kind of connection from her ever was whenever I accomplished something, whenever I did something. And I realized that later. She was very like achievement driven, and she just never allowed herself to be open and vulnerable, you know. And it sucks because my mom's in her 50s now, and she's just hurting, and she's miserable, and she has no connection with any of her kids, and she drove everybody away from never allowing herself to open up, you know, and have a relationship. And it's really bad, you know. And I try to get out, but she just, you know, she's just wants to stay in her own little hole and take all her little depression pills, and it sucks to see that, you know, from someone that taught us so much. But I went through, and by the way, I had to move out of my house and move in to my grandparents' house. She couldn't believe what I did, you know. And I just remember being really hurt, you know, being really hurt, and just thinking like, all right, well, I guess I have to work harder. And that's really where the work ethic came into play. Was like, I have to work harder. I have to keep up with everybody. I'm teaching myself at home, and I'm gonna go out and make this happen, you know. And I just worked really, really hard. And by the way, that brought me a lot of good. I wouldn't be in this room, you know, if it wasn't for that and the next skill. And we talked about yesterday the gifts, right? Like the lessons, the gifts, the seeing where the puzzle pieces fit, and we don't always see where they fit. But that's that year, as we went through, in my sophomore year, I caught up. I homeschooled myself basically that year, and then I had to go through a program. The principal was from my church, and they were able to let me back into the school. And they said, "You're back, but like I mean, you do anything, you're out of here, you know? I was like, okay, I'm good, you know? And so junior year was a good year. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna just keep myself in line. I'm not gonna go out and do stupid things. I'm not gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna earn respect back from my peers. I was head of the National Honor Society. I was captain of the basketball team, captain of the volleyball team. I led the praise and worship at our school. I went to a Christian high school. And I said, I'm going to earn everything back. And so I was able to get back on the ensemble. I was singing again. I used to sing, even though I sound really raspy. I used to have a voice back in the day. And there was a lot of things that I lost that I really cared about. And I went into senior year, and fall of senior year, went, partied, got in trouble, got arrested, and end up expelled. And it is December of senior year. If I don't have my scholarships, I don't go to college. I don't come from money. So I'm screwed right now, all right? And this was a point where my mom completely, there was a complete disconnection. And this is where my independence came in, by the way. And that's one of my biggest strengths. I can take care of myself, I take care of my family, so it's brought a lot of good, but I pushed a lot of people away, and it was more out of embarrassment, out of like, this is the, golden child, right? Or so my dad tried to make me or my mom, and, getting in trouble, getting kicked out of school, making bad decisions. I mean, stuff that went with me, even when I moved back to Miami in 2008, I left Miami in 2000 when I graduated, and then I came back in 2008, and even in 2008, or actually 2011, Mary Lou's first year, one of my top guys that summer went to go talk to his teachers to get demos. He went to my old high school, and he's like, oh, my manager went here. Oh, what's your name? Cathy Vazquez. Miss Fatty's like, oh, how's she doing? Literally. And like Taylor came to me, and he's like, what did you? And he goes, she's doing really well. Why? And he's like, she made a lot of bad decisions. She's like, I always like, my heart always, I always thought about her, and I just always wondered like what she was doing these days. Like, well, she's doing pretty well, and she's like, well, that's good to hear, but anyone who knew me from high school was always like, man, whatever happened to that? Because I disappeared. I completely disappeared. I was headed to Boston. 3 of us were going up to Boston. One of my best friends was playing football at Harvard. One of my good friends was going to MIT, and I was going to Boston University, or to University of Boston, or to Northeastern. And so I was still in the mix of things of where I was going to go, but we had like our place set, we're ready to go, and then Cathy disappears off the planet. All right, I didn't have Facebook back then, so nobody heard from me for years, and it was really embarrassing. And I kept going, and when I think about my life, I kept going, and I've built a lot of great relationships, I've connected with a lot of people, but I haven't been able to live life where I wanted it in every area. Because there were things that were missing. And it took me, years later to start coaching. I remember when I lost my cousin in 2006, that was a really tough time for me, and thinking like, dang, like, what do I want? Like, if I'm gone tomorrow, like, have I lived life? It really gave me a checkup from the neck up, so to speak. And you guys are at such a young place, such an early place in your lives. And I'll tell you, like, if you can figure a lot of this stuff out now, if you can intentionally deal with a lot of this stuff now, you're going to live such a stronger life and such a better, more fulfilled life. Because there's people, again, like years later that haven't figured it out. And I do believe everything happens when it's supposed to happen, but it breaks my heart to see people who are parents, are grandparents, and have lived this unfulfilled, empty life, or they've been depressed their whole life because they were never able to connect with people the right way. And I'll share with you guys, for me, I've gone through a lot of good. I've gone through a lot of coaching. I've experienced a lot of good, right, for the past decade and since I started going through. But one of the things for me that I have not, and I was sharing with some of our top guys, is that, I've never been able to connect at the level, when it comes to, I was talking to a couple of our new AMs where we were sharing just different things, and they said, biggest fears, biggest, whatever. And we were talking about stuff, and I think about for you guys, what's your biggest fear? Tomorrow we're going to talk about that, by the way, your fears, and it's not fun to think about, but what are your biggest fears? What is it that like personally, like, forget about Cutco, because here's the thing, a lot of our stuff that's in us, all right, it goes into everything that we do, and we don't even realize it. The things you struggle with, and that's one of the things that I love about this job, is that every single insecurity, every single thing you struggle with, it's in your face with this job. And I love it from a coaching standpoint because you really get to know people. You really get to see what's happening and whether they're struggling and they're like, go, and they're like, I gotta do good. And why? Because you have those little voices in your head that are like, you can't screw up or you gotta do good. And I remember like just being so anxious when I'd walk into the room and my staff from 05 and 06, I apologize to them a million times and I still know them very well from when I was a new manager. And I was like, dude, I sucked. I'm so sorry, and I'd walk in and something, like something would be wrong. And it was like a light switch, like it was bad. And I still have my, Spanish mood swings, but it was really bad. And I would get really, I was just like, this is not, because my mom was still in my head, like, there you go, screwing up again. There you go. Like we all have those voices in our heads, right? That haunt us, that we heard from when we were younger. And so we hear those, like, don't mess up again. Don't fuck up again. And some of you guys, I've already been diving in some of that stuff with you guys, and I want you guys to think about, what are your strengths? Where did they root from? What are your biggest fears? Is it, not being good enough? Is it letting people down? Is it not feeling loved? And a lot, by the way, you're not the only person who here, like if you're honest and you said, the biggest fear, or one of my biggest fears is not feeling good enough. Anyone with that? All right. By the way, that's one of and look around the room. All right. For a lot of overachievers, that's one of your biggest things. It's like not being good enough. And so you strive, you work. And sometimes you stress yourself out or you put so much pressure because you've got to be good enough or you got to prove something. All right. Anyone, not feeling loved or being alone. That's one of your biggest fears, being alone or not feeling loved. All right. And that's, half of the room again. And we all and people, a lot of times we just feel like we're by ourselves, not processed, but we're not. All right. And I was talking to our staff and I said, you know what? I said, one of my biggest fears has been never connecting with someone. And I didn't realize that through those two things, those are two of the biggest things that and by the way, not just me, I'm in a room with 2,000, business owners at a business mastery event. And you're watching, 90% of the room. Those are the two biggest things. It's like not feeling loved. And a lot of them feel love through that sense of accomplishment, and that's what sucks. So they just go, and then they never connect with people, and then they're miserable and they keep going, and it's this vicious cycle, and I realized for myself, this hit me this past December. I'm like, I always knew that the different things that kept me from, and I was completely aware of everything. But one of the things I realized this year, I was like, holy crap. I didn't even realize that my lack of connection in an intimate relationship, I've never allowed myself to fully connect. I never have. I never wanted to. I mean, you want to, but I didn't want to. Why? Because it's scary, right? Because you're vulnerable, because people don't want to hurt, because you've seen people hurt. And I would never allow myself to fully connect to people. And they'd be like, oh, you're so great. And I'm like, yeah, you don't even know me. Like, you don't know everything. Because in my head, like my mom growing up, it was like, you don't share your dirty laundry. You don't show the failures, right? You don't show that. You just show the successes and everything's good and everything's perfect and everything has to look a certain way. And you don't share the dirty laundry. And there was so much pressure for that, growing up. And it was just like, everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be perfect. And it sucks. And again, it's being able to step back and say, you know what, it's how it's supposed to happen. But it sucks because it's never allowed me to connect with anyone because I never felt fully connected because I'm like, they don't know the bad stuff. So they just love the good stuff. I was married. And I'm like, you don't even know me. And I knew him for 13 years. And he didn't even know me. Because I couldn't share certain things about myself. And it made me be very empty and very broken. And I did it to myself. And it wasn't anything crazy. And it wasn't like I couldn't share, but it just, in my head, I was programmed in a way where it's like, you don't share that stuff. You don't share that stuff. And so I never did. And then I never felt fully connected to anybody because I felt they didn't fully know me. I was more connected to my staff, my friends, people that versus, anyone that I ever dated or was engaged to or married to, and that's really crazy. And I just never did that. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what always kept me, and I realized that this summer, I'm like, shit. I'm like, always, never showing my weaknesses is what kept me from the ability to connect with people intimately. And because of that, I've never been, fulfilled in that aspect. And that's me, because I wouldn't allow myself to do that, all right, because of the possibility of rejection, of hurt. And guys, all human beings have this stuff. Everyone struggles with this stuff. And again, we're going to get a lot deeper and talk about stuff this week, and I'm just kind of like lining that up. But I think about, bringing it back to now, to here and now, and how that helps you connect with people. Miss Jones is not used to people getting deep like that. Most people don't do that, all right? And even when they share stuff, many people share it for the attention, for this. They're not even being truly authentic with how they feel. They're just creating a show or creating drama or creating whatever to try to fill certain voids or try to fill certain needs that they have. So when you're talking to Miss Jones and you're like, so, what did you study? Or like, when you were in college, what big dreams or goals did you have? Or, like, what drove you? Like, I'm still figuring myself out. I'm still figuring out what I want to do. And when you talk to Ms. Jones about goals and dreams, or she sees you opening, sharing, like, oh, this is, who I am, this is what I want to do. Oh my gosh, I have this super big goal. Like, I'm so scared, And have you ever had, like, a goal that you were, like, so excited about, but, like, scared you so much, and you allow them permission to share, like, it's just a completely different level of connection that you're having with your customers. And when you go watch Andy Johnson, when you go watch some of the greats, that's something that they do amazing. And I was sharing, I watched Dawson on Wednesday, and I was like, that's cool goals. But it was facts. It was just like, and there were some of his goals and things, and I was like, that's cool. But he wasn't sharing how he was feeling. He wasn't sharing, how scared, like, just like, yeah, I really want to hit this. But in the, like, I'm afraid type thing, like, people aren't used to hearing that. When they do, like, oh, don't worry, like, you're going to be fine. But they feel more connected because their friends just don't share that and don't tell them that. All right. And I want to challenge you guys as we go into this, these 2 weeks, this next week and a half, or it's a little more than a week and a half, but these 2 weeks, that you guys allow yourself to be open to the process. Allow yourself to really think about what it is that holds you back. Why are you so pissed off with these no's? Because you're not performing, because you're not good enough, because if you don't perform at a certain level, you're not going to feel wanted or desired, or you're not going to earn that spot where you feel like people need you, you're not needed, or get off all that shit. You're perfect, you're amazing, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and just take the process in. A no sale is a no sale. A bad day is a bad day. And can you coach yourself that when something doesn't go well, you go, someone doesn't get, you have a no sale, I was telling Will yesterday, I'm like, sucks for them. All right, because as overachievers, I'm like, what did I do wrong? What did I do this? Like even James Rushing yesterday, we're talking, he's like, I just want to make sure I'm not messing, you're not messing anything up. You are more capable and more knowledgeable than anybody, and than most people in this entire country when it comes to selling Cutco. All right, and you guys in this room, you have the skills, you have the stuff there. Some of you guys have been around for a while and more experienced. That's not the issues. It's just you're dealing with all your personal insecurities, and when you're not getting results, because many overachievers are, they take, we're results. And by the way, as human beings, when things are going well, we feel good, right? When things don't go well, we don't feel good. It's like based on our results is how we feel. And we need good results in order to have you feel good. But guess what? In life, when you feel good and you focus on good things, you create good results. All right? And unfortunately, again, we're wired where it's like we have to have something good happen for us to feel good. Well, no, we need to feel good in order for good stuff to happen. Mike Linzetta on Monday morning is going to talk about gratitude, and he's going to be talking about things. And this is something that helped me so much personally when I started doing this. And I remember watching The Secret and reading this book, and I'll wrap up with this. And this is something that I challenge our managers to do, and I want to challenge you guys to do, is get a coin or find a rock, something small you can put in your pocket, or you can easily put it somewhere, and for the next week, just carry it around. And every time you touch it or you grab it, say something you're thankful for. Every time. So every morning when you pick it up and put it in your pocket, something you're thankful for. Every night when you take it out, if you go into your pocket to grab something and you feel it, it's like, all right, what am I thankful for? And really putting yourself in a good state and feeling good. Because if you can, there's always things to be thankful for. All right, you guys are alive, you're healthy, you're here, you're able to connect with people. People wish they could run around, and they can't. They don't have, their legs are cut off. People feel that, wish they could communicate, but they can't, and they have issues, like they're mute. People wish they could, and they can't. You have sight, feel, touch, see, right? Like everyone in this room, feel blessed. And we had one of my reps last summer who was in a wheelchair, and he couldn't do much. Jose, he passed away, by the way, during the summer. And his mom called us and said, this was the most amazing thing he ever had. To have people that he loved. He came, his dad would bring him in his wheelchair to the office, and he would be there, and he was fighting cancer. And he couldn't run around like everybody else, but he tried to keep up. When we had tea night, he'd be in his wheelchair going around, and he was like this little shenanigan, and he loved Cutco. Man, he loved it. And he was just like, he loved the product, and we'd pull up his wheelchair, and he'd be like cutting stuff. He's like, this is so good. He hit his first promotion, his first demo. So he worked with us for like 2 weeks, and then we didn't hear from him. And we're like, where's Jose? And he passed away. And this kid, I remember talking to him the week before, and he's like, this is the best thing ever. He's like, like these kids don't understand. Like, I've always been in an environment where I was made fun of, being in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk, and I couldn't play sports. And there's these kids, and he'd watch, and he came to our alliance meetings, and he was in our alliance, and he passed away during that. And this was last year or the year before. It was last year. And he'd watch people, and he's like, how are you so insecure? Like, you're you're good looking, you can walk, you can do things, you don't look at you funny. And you're, like, look at me, And he didn't want anyone to know. No one knew he was struggling with cancer, by the way. He had told me, he goes, sometimes I have to do chemo, or I have to do whatever. He's like, I don't want anyone to know. He's like, I don't want people to treat me different. I get treated different enough. He's like, I don't want anyone to know that. And he was the happiest kid, man. He was the happiest kid in that damn room. He brought a light to that room. He was always encouraging everybody else. And it was just so beautiful to see into the last days that he had. And for you guys, like, you're bitching about stupid shit. Like, be thankful for every day you have. Be thankful for every day you're given. And make the most of it. You have a shit sales day. Oh, wow, you had a shit sales day. What is going well? What are you thankful for? What are you grateful for? And as you focus on those things, you're going to create a lot more greatness in your life. So as we go into today, that's my biggest challenge for you guys. Can you focus on what you're thankful for? Can you focus on what you're grateful for? Can you not beat yourself up for things? Because it doesn't matter. But be thankful for another day. Be thankful for Ms. Jones. Just connect with her. Be thankful for your time here. Think about that. Don't think about, like, oh my God, I'm not where I need to be for the push. I'm not where I am. No, screw that. Just think about, man, I have a chance to work with amazing people like this. I have a chance to like share that with Ms. Jones. Like, I have a chance to grow. And that's something that Jose would share with his friends and family. And his mom invited everyone to the funeral. And like after, like, he went over there, it was intense. But he would, she said he was so thankful, and everyone would share with you, like, I have a chance to, like, have friends, that I never had a connection with so many people, and have a chance to, be encouraged and supported. And, he can never be on a team, right? Like, he never was on a team. Who's going to pick him for basketball? Oh yeah, I pick Jose. The last person picked always growing up, not really wanting around, but had such a beautiful soul. And just like had compassion for people. And it was amazing. It was amazing to see. And when his mom spoke about how he spoke about this, it made me feel so good about what we give. So be thankful for being here. Be thankful that God's allowed you with the ability to connect with people, and just have a freaking phenomenal day today. And if we do that, we're going to launch out into a great week. Just in your life, you're going to always create great things when you're focused on what is going well and what you're thankful for versus what's not going well. All right, so I want to gather for our team huddle. I know we have a bunch of different teams, and as we transition into push mode and demos today, in terms of what we want to focus on for work. All right, And actually, I want to give 5 minutes. I know I ran over. It's 9, and we're supposed to be getting on the phones right now. Or I'll give 4 minutes. From this, anyone have any takeaways or things that kind of hit home or aha moments that they'd like to share? Because I always like to give people the ability to be able to share. Jeremy.
Emotionally tired customers with your goal. Like, especially when we were doing the demo of Dawson the other day, and I snapped and I was like, wow, you got me the other day. I think that's important to emotionally tired customers.
Right. What else?
I've seen value in being able to think of your goals, especially going into each demo. There's actually something I learned from Alex on his on mentoring with him. There's something that he did and something that I started incorporating in my demos. I remember the first time I did it, I was just really thankful going. I just had this high energy. And later on that day, I was actually with Dawson, going back from Boston's office, and there's a car pulled up behind me, and he missed my car by about 8 inches, and crashed about 8 feet to our right. And I was standing there in the ring with Dawson, waiting for the ambulance to come to get pick up that guy. And it just kind of hit me that this morning I was just being so thankful for everything, and it just hit me again. It's like it just kind of hit me all at that time. It really just changed your quality of life. And I think you got me and Alex and for just that leadership.
And when you change your perspective, what you focus on, things are just different, you know, and it feels different. Anyone else want to share anything?
No matter how hard things get, everybody has bad days, everyone have good days. Not all the time you have an amazing day. It's the down in the dumps and the high in the heavens that make life life. So enjoy what you can, enjoy the middle. Enjoy the down in the dumps, because sometimes the down in the dumps is what opens your eyes and makes you actually think about what's actually going to happen.
Appreciate the good stuff, you know, for sure.
It'll be one.
It's okay to be vulnerable.
And most people think that if you let somebody in makes you weak, or that's very similar. It's quite opposite. It's a lot of strength to be able to be vulnerable.
Yeah, everyone can put up a front. That's easy, right? It takes a lot of strength to be real. A lot of strength.
You were saying that there's so much focus on numbers because it's just number well 79. I get caught up. It's like I've been doing really bad for like 4 or 5 days. And yesterday I was like, I walked in. They were not like they weren't max. Those they were married. Their age was like over 60, and I was like, man, I did a demo with old people that they never buy. I just had that in my mind. But before, you know, in the morning yesterday, you were like, do your pose. And in the car, I was like, it's like I can do it. I can do it. And then I just walked in, and I was like, dang, they're old.
And then you walked in, and you were like, got my pose, let's go.
But like they were. We were just talking for an hour. We didn't even start doing demo, and then she's like, okay, what you got? I wasn't even like thinking about doing presentation. I was just having fun. And Mike was talking about that. Like, it's not about 79. It's not about number. During a divisional meeting, he was saying, you gotta have fun, and you gotta never stop. Like, you can't stop caring for people. And that's what I forgot, because that was my result. They were bad. But after realizing that, boom, I saw a signature. It's like, it's not how you do it, like you're good at talking or anything like that. It's more like having fun and actually taking care of people and like looking out for them and having this connection. And I was there in the demo, like we got distracted in the middle of presentation. We're like talking about that, and then I feel like this was my real first time with a customer having real connection. Because I got invited to a barbecue party for like August. Like, we're talking about it. It's
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, it's like they're talking about brisket, and they're like, you make like real brisket. And it's like, you make me hungry. And then like, I'll call you. And then I got invited.
That's awesome.
That's the connection we have.
And they're going to stick with their.
All right.
I got 2 things. One, Michael is talking on Monday morning.
Yes.
He is? Okay, cool. So, like, the grateful thing that he's talking about, like, if you guys don't know Michael, that has had a huge impact on my career, and I know that a lot of the top guys. But one thing that he taught me is before I go into every demo, I go through a grateful speech, like 30-second minutes, sometimes even 5 minutes, depending on what mood I'm in.
I'm just like, I'm grateful for the shoes on my feet and the gas in my car and the amazing job I have and the clothes in my bag and the food in my belly. So by the time I go into the appointment, I'm so grateful for the appointment. And I say that in my grateful. I'm so grateful for Ms. Jones, the appointment I'm going to go see and whatever she's going to buy, whatever vegetable peeler and ultimate, like, I'm just so grateful for it. And then, so that's like she can feel that when I walk in the door that, like, you know, I'm here for her and I'm just grateful that I actually get to see her. She answered the phone, you know, finally. But, and then a second, I've got another thing. Justin Lefker taught me this. I don't know if you guys know, he's one of the top reps. But we were talking about, like, whenever you have a terrible demo, or just like Ms. Jones is just like, and you just want to, like, so you go to your next demo, you kind of still have those, like, that energy of just like, why was that demo like that? And I don't know if I can explain this as good as he can, but the way he explains is there's like a knob, an emotional knob inside of your chest. And whenever, like, who here remembers like the biggest set? Homemaker signature ultimate, right? And you remember that moment, and you take the emotional knob and you turn it to that emotion of happiness when you sat back in your car and you're just like, oh my gosh, I just made like the best sale ever. It's all valid. So, like, before you walk into that house, you're in that, like, still just like you're like, you remember the old demo that was like bad, but then you remember like the demo you loved, and you bring yourself back to the emotional state. You're grateful for the demo, and you can feed that energy off. So it really is a lot of preparation before you go into the demo. And yeah, just like you said, having fun going into it.
Definitely something that really got me is when you said, don't focus on like what your goal is at test, but like what your goal you're trying to do. Yeah, like throughout yesterday, I was had the worst day ever in a row, like second in a row. And I was just too focused on not letting people down. So many people are like, looking up to me. Man, I'm going crazy. And Cathy Vazquez talked to me that day. Going to my like 5 o'clock demo, my phone had died, but just before then, I was good. You know, I was already pumped up. I was feeling good about myself, but I was feeling grateful. So, you know, my phone died, but like I knew it was gonna die, so I talked to him earlier. I was like, hey, give me like the runaround. I was even like in my house now, like just like, okay, you turn it, like I was walking around just to, like, make sure I haven't drove my head where he is. It was far, like I'm talking about like new houses, like these are like max brand new houses, beautiful. So I'm like, I'm going as I'm driving, and I see the house. I'm like, I actually make it there, which is another thing I was grateful for. Like I was happy. I was like, I don't have my maps on me. My phone died. I'm like winging it kind of. So, you know, I make it there and I actually make it to the house. Yes. I'm more like, they just like build me up a little more. I see their house and I'm like, all right, sweet. I'm about to sell them like everything I can. But then just as soon as I'm walking in the house, I think about that again. I was like, yeah, I'm going to sell them everything I can and that they can get. And then going in there, you know, I started with the Cutco kitchen and I ended up doing the buy 3 get 1 free gadgets. And the whole time, like every time, they're like, like, I really want to help you. And I was with them. I was like, hey, I'm here for you guys. I'm here for you guys. I don't care what you guys did. And like, I know you love these things. I know you're telling me you want to help me. And I'm so grateful. I appreciate it. Like every drop down, I just kept telling myself that. But I said it out loud. So it was like, I was telling them, but at the same time, I was telling myself as well. And I was so grateful they were willing to help me out. So grateful they were willing to let me do all this. And, you know, I found a way to call the office, you know, the whole time because they don't have Wi-Fi. So I couldn't get on my laptop. My phone died, and there was no like iPhone 5 charger. And they only had an iPhone 4. So I was like, do you have like LTE or 4G? He's like, yeah. I was like, sweet. Got on Facebook. Went on the internet, got on Facebook.com. So just out of all that, that was my favorite demo because I genuinely and authentically wanted to help them out and I wasn't focused on numbers.
Yeah. And as you go into today, that's the biggest thing for all of you guys. Like make sure, and then what Chav is just talking about with just that grateful speech or whatever, like it just puts you in a good state, puts you in a better state as you're going in there. Every demo, you go be the highlight of their day. All right. So let's get together, kick off the day here. We got group huddle.